As I was saying before, just take one good long look at the waste of space Jimmy Kimmel and what he has been doing these days, with now him screaming and crying in public, not too long after him making a desperate cry to try and show, look, I'm playing along, look, I'm being a good company man, I'm not going to be so obsessed with screeching social justice dogma anymore. Look at me on some podcast with Sarah Silverman. I'm going to talk about, oh, it's the far left that's drove people into the arms of who they voted for. Now you're going and publicly crying and whining about how dare Jimmy Fallon go and beat you to the punch when it comes to, if I don't want my contract to be immediately taken away, well, then I better go and make sure that I now play along with the right, or in the least be cordial with the right. Like, well, having the actual king of late night these days going on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon right there, Greg Gutfeld, the guy who, for all of the clickbait defenses and excuses and coping and seething about Colbert being canceled and calling him the highest rated talk show host, bullshit. He came to CBS and he wound up bringing those basic cable ratings to network TV, where he wished he had, a quarter of the ratings of Jay Leno. But then again, that's everybody else on late night wishes for that, except for Greg Gutfeld, who, well, considering the lack of resources and the lack of budget compared to what a production budget and contracts even of what those guys get on NBC or CBS or ABC, look at the idiot Jimmy Kimmel and look at the contract he's been getting, and with Jimmy Fallon, you look at him and what he's done and what happened before the woke hammer was slammed down on talk show hosts, and now after, with studios or with networks going out of their way to try to not wind up going down the Colbert highway, you got Jimmy Fallon being the guy who was the vanguard for company man, who does what he's told. So when it came to him having the Donald on during that election and talking to him like he would talk to any other guest, and then he winds up getting criticized for, how dare you humanize him? How dare you go and ask if you could mess around with his hair a little bit, as opposed to calling him an evil racist that wants to hunt down the gays and wants to abduct all the trannies and make them straight again. All that insane glassy-eyed zeal that someone like Jimmy Kimmel has professionally been diving into since 2016, with no other possible signs of having any sort of sense of thinking that anybody in the world has any level of humanity that isn't a Hollywood elitist or some brainwashed little sociopolitical weapon of those Hollywood or career politician elitists. And well, Jimmy Fallon, you've got the one end right there where he was humanizing the Donald and then wound up apologizing to all the social media dogmatic cunts online who hated him for the crime of treating the fucking president like a guest. Well, now in the briar of incoherent, glassy-eyed zealotry and rage and destruction and death that's been going on from making sure that the woke left get everything they want and that they can roll and front like Udi Hussein, just like every psycho, crazy black criminal and thug who thinks, oh, because my melanin count, that means I'm oppressed, so it's okay for me to go and assault 3-year-olds in daycare centers. Well, now with all of that clearly showing that, okay, the Donald's back in office, all these corporations are hemorrhaging money. Maybe we should go and see about, at the very least, not making sure everything revolves around these blue-haired land whales getting appeased on Twitter. Maybe, just maybe. And well, Jimmy Fallon, the guy who always is just a big jive, song and dance man, jump jiving all over the place, him going there and saying, whoa, here's Greg Gutfeld, and getting Herculean ratings on account of Greg Gutfeld, and Gutfeld having nothing but positive things to say about appearing on the show, on his own show. Now, you know what it is of what you got right there, which is actual honest-to-God ratings. Yes, Jimmy Fallon actually getting some real ratings for the first time in a long time. And, well, guess what? Success begets success. So Greg Gutfeld, the guy who bitch-slapped Colbert's hiney in the ratings for years on end, just like Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers, well, guess what? You bring him on, you treat him with some basic common courtesy of what any talk show guest is supposed to have, and you wind up getting a little bit of those ratings rubbing off on you. You go and you bring somebody on there who actually has a level of success, well, then maybe that means you'll get some of that level of success. In case you're wondering why the people that appear on the Joe Rogan Experience or people that even appear on Gutfeld wind up doing those shows or those podcasts a lot more good than the idiots you see that will bring on Sam Cedar to go and repeat whatever Soros-funded talking point he's being handed in this day and age or any given second, because a guy like Jimmy Kimmel is no different from a guy like Sam Cedar. Neither of them have brains, neither of them have hearts, neither of them have spines. They just have an awful lot of resentment and an awful lot of dedicating everything to pay back for high school. And having the personal politics of some bipolar, violent, lunatic Starbucks barista in Portland is really just the modern socio-political Trojan horse for how they just want to make sure everybody else suffers because they're an insecure loser. And Greg Gutfeld is sitting back and smiling as he sees these idiots like Kimmel or idiots like Howard Stern continue to fail, continue to lose their relevancy and lose their minds. And now, well, they've lost all those things. Now they're all losing their jobs. And well, Jimmy, at the very least, he's probably now looking back and thinking, maybe, I might be able to keep my job for just a bit longer.